The consistent thing that I saw in the teams that were successful in the World Cup is they use their players as everyone's a utility player.
These other countries, they're not just investing in their pro leagues, they are investing in their youth leagues and making sure their youth leagues are doing it the right way so that their pro leagues get better. I have a lot more respect for Andonovski that he resigned.
Who is going to be the next head coach? We're recording this on August 22nd. It's going out on August 23rd. We need a head coach August 24th if we're talking now. Welcome back into Straight from the Pitch, joined as always by Scotty Schweitzer. I'm Anna Witte. Thank you for being with us. I know we took a week off, but this is the big one because the World Cup is over. Spain took home the World Cup trophy for the first time with a 1-0 win over England. A goal from Spanish left back Olga Carmona. Scotty, I know you said, I'm going to call you out a little bit here. You said you thought England was going to win this game. What did they not do that had you thinking before the game kicked off that they could win it with that play?
Okay, I also said I was cheering for Spain.
I know. Same.
So I wanted Spain to win. I think they played the most. Like I said in the very beginning, a couple of shows ago before the World Cup even started, I said I'll be cheering for the U.S. and then I'll end up cheering for whoever plays the best brand of soccer. So I was cheering for Spain for sure, 100%. I just thought, for one, that I thought that England was going to be able to, as the game wore on, physically impose their will on Spain. I thought they were going to just be able to run them into the ground, start putting their body weight on them, start making the game a little bit ugly. Not that Spain plays an ugly brand of soccer. I just thought that that was their opportunity. They would sit back, have a little bit more of a deep-lying pressure line than they normally have on teams, and then physically, as the game went, just continue to wear them down. But, man, give it to Spain. They just kept that ball moving, kept getting back up. I thought Hermosa was amazing. Listen, Spain was amazing. I thought their two center backs were their weak link and their goalie as the tournament went on. But as they kept going game in and game out and being able to watch, I think, themselves on film, their two center backs got better and better as the tournament went on. And they also, against England and later on in the tournament when the teams became that much better and, win or go home, they didn't get time to turn off in the back. Teams were better, so there was better pressure. There was more times they were involved. Like in the Japan game, and again, I told you earlier, as a player, the team I want to play for is Spain. Mm-hmm. If I can't play for Spain, then I want to play for Japan. I think they play the second best brand of soccer. And then if I can't play for Japan, I would want to pick England because I like their style of soccer too. But against the Japan team, Spain, they had possession for so much of the game and held onto it for so long that the two center backs basically fell asleep and were lulled to sleep by their own team. And then Japan was clinical on their ability to get out and counter in that game. Their passing was top notch. They're technically super gifted. And then their finishing was ridiculous. I mean, three times the ball gets in the Spanish box against Japan, and they score 4 goals against them. I mean, they were just clinical. But against this England team, I thought, I've been super, super impressed with Lucy Bronze this tournament. And because of her play this tournament, I will search her out until her career is over to watch games. She is so professional, so dedicated to her craft. She gives players that might not just be super talented dribblers or gifted like that the chance to say, hey, if I'm just disciplined, if I work super hard, if I'm totally focused and always concentrating, like I don't know that she makes many mistakes in a tournament, let alone a game. She's just so focused and like everything she's doing has a purpose, like arguing with the coach to get back in the box and giving her team that split second of rest and chance to recover and stop the momentum of Spain at that time. Like she just does so many smart things on the field.
Yeah.
But I thought overall that England was able to do that, was going to be able to do that against Spain. And Spain, I thought the game was going to be like a 2-1 game. But Spain, to their credit, they were good defensively. They were unbelievable again with their possession. They're clinical in their movements and their runs. And, man, I hope everything comes out what's going on with this federation because they play such a great brand of soccer. And we got to remember, there are 12 players that didn't get for this team that are usually on this team, or and some are starters. So how good is Spain really? Like, not saying that if that team comes and just all that they've been through and what they've gone through, and then still to be able to put that product on the field. I mean, just give it to to the Spanish women of how resilient and how classy they are of what they accomplished in this tournament.
And Spain in their U17 team and their U20 team won the World Cup this year as well. It shows, and we've harped on it a lot, that if you build from the youth level and you have the right people in place, that it feeds into the senior level and it gives them the ability to get results as well. And that's what, the federations around the world, I think when we see the next World Cup, teams are going to start investing in their youth to get them to that level to be competitive on the senior level and get that World Cup win. Paralluelo was used as a sub for Spain the majority of the tournament. And I liked that, how Coach Vilda used her as like a spark plug and as an ability to step on and give that extra oomph. Throughout the World Cup, Spain needed that in moments, especially in the Netherlands game. She scored that goal to get Spain moving forward. But they ended up using her as a starter in this win over England. I think it gave them the result and got them the win, but I liked that idea of having the depth and using the depth as players coming on the field instead of using your entire star power from the jump. She provided so much. I think she was dangerous in England playing in a 3-back in the first half, made it difficult for them to figure out where she was going because she's so unpredictable and fast. What did you think about Paralluelo as a starter instead of as a sub in this final?
Well, I think like we always say, we're not there, but as a tournament goes, players build confidence and some players lose confidence. So
Right.
I think her being such a young player, it's easy in the beginning not to start her because she is so young. You're going to have another World Cup. Like learn the atmosphere, get used to it. But as the tournament went, she kept playing better and better and better. And Spain, luckily, doesn't need her to start because what they bring in off the bench is just as good as what they have on the field. And he's proven that throughout the tournament. So her starting in the last game is at the fact of, my goodness, look at what she's done going into this game. She is now where she needs to be. It was like she had this whole month to get to where, and now making her a starter against a team like Spain. And that's knowing if they're going to play their 4-4-2 or if they're going to play their 3-back, it doesn't really matter. Bronze and Daly like to get forward. So there is going to be space. And with her speed and technical ability, I think it was a no-brainer to play her up top because it would allow the defense to stretch, not just in the back line, but also in the midfield where they are so dangerous. And then you have Hermosa just she slips and slides throughout the crevices of a team's defensive structure to find where she needs to be, whether she's the 10, the 9, the false 9. She finds space. And with her up top making those runs, and you're catching Bronze a little high, you might catch Daly a little high. It gave Greenwood and what's the other one? Bright? Is that her last name?
Messiah Bright, yep.
It just gave them a lot of space.
I'm sorry, not Messiah Bright. I'm thinking NWSL. What's her first name? Shoot. Millie Bright.
Really bright. It just gave them too much space to cover with her speed and how dynamic she is. Yeah. So I think it was a smart call. And then, but even at that, like if she doesn't start and you have Hernandez starting, who was playing up top as the 9, I think that would have worked a little bit too, because she would have found little plays. They might have played in and off of her instead of playing over the top kind of a thing. But I just think he pulled all the right strings throughout the whole tournament. And again, like, you can tell there's a problem there because after every game, until the World Cup, no player celebrated with them. Mm-hmm. No one celebrated with them. So
except at the end when they threw them in the air. I know
except for the very end. And if you notice, it was only a select few. It wasn't the whole team. It wasn't some of those veteran players weren't over there. So we're never gonna find out, I don't think. But it's a shame that they're have to go through that, but at the same time, it just shows the world how resilient the women are of Spain. I mean, the whole tournament, there was so many stories and backlying stories. It was amazing. And then you go from the men's World Cup and the way it went, and Messi getting his, and now Spain getting him, and them playing the most beautiful brand of soccer, in my opinion. It was just soccer right now is at a great place. And for us in America, we do need to, like you said, we need to go back and revisit our youth if we're going to look to become the number one power in the world again. Because if they're winning at the 17s and they're winning at the 20s and they're winning the World Cup, don't be fooled and think they only have 20 players that they're picking from. They have hundreds and hundreds of players in Spain that they have the opportunity to pick from, hundreds of players to pick from in Japan. And this is just to say, and even those out of those hundreds, there might be somebody there that should make it. It's a coach's opinion if they want to bring you and they think you fit into their system and their style of play and with the other players that they have. So like, I don't think we should be fooled that we were close. Yeah, the Netherlands went pretty far. Sweden did really good, and we played them really good, and they were two of the better. Like, we shouldn't think of it like that. We got to think about getting back on top and knowing that these other countries, they're not just investing in their pro leagues, they are investing in their youth leagues and making sure their youth leagues are doing it the right way so that their pro leagues get better. And it's a better product for their pro leagues, but that's the inspiration for these young players that are coming through the pipelines. I mean, the story of Australia, like, I feel sorry that they didn't win a medal. I told you earlier, I didn't think they were going to win the third place. I think they had spent everything they had. They exhausted every resource they had. They inspired a country. They inspired, soccer around the world, but especially in Australia and New Zealand. And I think like what they did for the sport in their countries is going to be amazing going forward. But I think they had just used everything they had to get where they got, and they just didn't have anything left for that last game.
I think the consistent thing that I saw in the teams that were successful in the World Cup is they use their players as everyone's a utility player, right? Like Caladente for Spain can drop into the midfield and do things outside of just playing in a left wide position. Bonmati can do things centrally, but she finds herself drifting out wide, defending 1v1. Even for England, Hemp can drop off. Lauren James did things. They didn't even have to start Lauren James, and they still were successful leading up to the final. And even Australia, Emily Van Egmond, she doesn't play in a true 9 role. She plays in a defensive midfield role with her club. And they got all the way to the third place game using her as a 9 next to Rosso. And not to compare to the U.S. national team, because I don't want to talk too much about them, because obviously they got out of the round of 16, but that's the biggest thing for the U.S. is there just seemed to be a lot of players who were one-dimensional and were really good at their job, but weren't able to be utility players throughout the tournament. And Spain did that so well, and I think that's what led them to success. Yes, Vilda has the good tactics, but I think even on the national stage, you only have so much time with a coach, and you only have so much time with certain players that you have to be able to do a little bit of everything. And that's what we saw throughout the World Cup. And I know England in the second half, they pushed into a 4-back instead of a 3-back because Spain was really exploiting their back line. And that pushed Rachel Daly and Lucy Bronze into more vulnerable positions. Carmona got her goal because Lucy Bronze was a little bit higher off of her line. No fault to her, because there's an opportunity for Bright to slide out and help defensively. But that was my biggest takeaway from this World Cup is there's so many talented players. And that a big piece of that too is watching the game and understanding other positions and why other positions do different things. And that's why I think Spain has such a successful all-around program.
I agree. I have told my daughter since the day she started playing soccer, and I preach this at Next Level Academy all the time. You don't want to be, because parents are a lot of parents are stuck on, should my daughter be the 9? Should my daughter be the 10?
Right.
Should my daughter be the 3? Should produce soccer players.
But before you keep going, I think that's a fair question, though. I think, in some ways, players want to understand a position really well. Like, let's say, for example, I don't know, Sam Coffey, because we use her as an example all the time. She's such a good 6 within the Portland system, making sure she develops in that role maybe as she's growing up, but also use her in a left back, use her as a 9, put her in different positions as she grows up. What do you think about that?
100. I totally agree. 100%.
Okay.
But they want them to be the 10, the 9, the 6, and they're 6 years old. Or they're 7 years old. Like, you got to play all these positions. And these coaches have to learn, like, Sam Coffey. We'll use her.
Okay.
I'm going to put her in a position where that position also allows her to lead my team. She could play center back. She could be the 10. She could be the 9. She could be the 6. I want her to be around where I can lead through her. I don't think she's ever going to play the 9, but if she was at the 9, she'd be talking our defense through from the backside of the play, helping us get organized, even though she's the 9. When we look, you're right. When you look at what I learned in this World Cup is the best players and the best teams produce soccer players, not positions.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel Daly is up for the Player of the Year, the Ballon d'Or, because at Aston Villa, she's a forward and scored like 22 or 23 goals in 22 or 23 games. And she plays left back for England. Why? Because she understands the game of soccer. No one's asking her to change her mentality and be an attacking threat going forward. But she's honest. She knows how to tackle. She's played center mid. She's probably played outside back. She's played forward. They produce players. We honestly only have one. And I know all the Ertz fans are going to be like, Ertz can play the six and she can play center back. It's the same position, for God's sakes. I've done it myself. It's like there's not that big of a change. Like you got to be a little bit safer at the center back than you do at the six. But you can't take as many risks there either. We have Crystal Dunn. She plays left back for us on the national team, and she plays center mid for her club team. And she can do them both great. That's it. Haran is where she plays. Sanchez is where she plays. Emily Fox is 100% an outside back. Alana Cook is a center back. Germa, center back. Morgan, number 9. Like, we don't have these players that can interchange and go. Like again, I know Spain played players in positions, but if we switched the field and just spun it real quick and everybody ended up in different spots, I'd still pick Spain to win the World Cup. I'd still pick them to win the World Cup. If Hermosa was playing center back, they would figure out a way that, hey, she's not going to win a lot of tackles. She's not going to do this. So let's keep the ball over here. Let's slide and shift, because they have soccer players on their team. Their outside backs are basically 10s that just happen to be out there. But they play through them. They score goals. They get assists. They're dangerous players because they're soccer players. We are too, in America, putting players in a position at too young of an age, and then they only know. So they're really good, but you better have the exact same links next to them for them to be able to be really good. Because look at us. We had players, great players in their position, but the connections around them weren't any good, and we played an ugly, disjointed brand of soccer. That's what we play. Whereas these other teams have players like, you can put them anywhere. They're interchangeable, not just from the bench. They're interchangeable on the field itself. They can get moved and slid around. And Reece James comes in. Reece's brother. Yeah, she comes in and she plays like, is she a back? Is she a winger? Is she a midfielder? Like, she can slide into the middle. She can go back out wide. She can do all these different things because she understands. I just read the other day, I'm always reading coaches' stuff, and it talks about when you're talking about positions, you should more talk about roles, so that when you're in a location on the field, you know the role, instead of doing a position based on this is how you have to play it. This is the rule. Don't make it a rule, make it a role. So like if I'm the center mid and I slide out wide, I have a different responsibility now because I'm the left back. And I think that's what other players understand better at other countries. They understand the roles, these roles that each position plays, so that Spain knows when so-and-so gets the ball, she likes to play it down the line, so I got to get here, and then she has to read off of me because this is where we're going. And they're interchangeable, and their movements are all linked together. And when you really want to see it at the highest of highest levels, understanding the game completely, there's a reason Lionel Messi walks, because he's 17 steps ahead of everybody in his mind. And he can walk because he's getting to the positions and he's seeing these pictures and he's analyzing defenses all the time. And then when the ball gets to him, everything gets set into motion because he's already 17 steps ahead of it. He knows what's going to happen. But I think that's what we saw with Spain. They were playing in, they were playing out. They bypassed the midfield to come back to the midfield. Then England changed the way they played a little bit and dropped a little deeper. Then they went into the midfield to draw them out, to go back up top. Like, they just did so many things well of reading teams and solving problems and answering and adjusting based on what was being thrown at them. The only game they had the biggest trouble with was Japan. And like I said, like, I would have liked to seen them play again in the semis because I think Spain would have made their adjustments. Obviously, Japan would have made their adjustments, and we would have seen two really outstanding soccer teams play each other. And I don't know what the result would have been, but I would have picked Spain to win that game too. I think they realized how they got beat and how they got countered against Japan. But it would have been a great game because Japan has, like we were just saying, they're playing Endo in the back, and she plays up top at Angel City. Like, here's another player that can play anywhere you put her on the field. She could be a center midfielder if you need her to. I just thought the women's game was amazing. The whole World Cup was great.
Yeah.
It followed up a great men's World Cup and probably, to be honest, topped it. To me, it topped it
Totally.
soccer.
I just
So
think
many great games.
there were so many good storylines as well. And like Colombia, how far they made it, Jamaica, the adjustments they made without Bunny Shaw to get them results. And just to go back to the Rachel Daly, Lucy Braun situation, that was something that I noticed. And obviously, Serena Wegman, being the head coach for England, made those decisions. And she felt comfortable to put players in positions that they don't normally play in and just see how it goes. It doesn't have to be a forever thing. And it went well for England's favor, Rachel Daly playing a little bit more of a defensive role. But when you used to watch her at Houston in the NWSL, you would have never thought to put her in a defensive role. Granted, it probably didn't work in that system, but why not try it? And Houston not having a great season, maybe they could use Rachel Daly right now. But, I think to your point, and just to harp this home a little bit, it's like these players get opportunities and it might not be the right fit always, but it fits so well in this World Cup, and that's what led England to the final. Mary Earps had one heck of a tournament as well. Her PK stop, her multiple saves. Spain had multiple opportunities. I think 13 shots in this final, and her ability to move her body, to predict where the ball was going, to get up when she needed to. Her timing was always on. Her facial expressions, the way she kind of like screamed, I loved it. I thought it was all great, and that's something that's a huge bright side for England is their goalkeeping.
Goalkeeping in the whole tournament was amazing.
Sure,
She is by far the class of the goalkeepers, that's for sure. And listen, there's sometimes where goalies, and I played with a lot of goalies, and they're like, when they make a big save, they're all amped up, but they also like to point out how it was our fault on the defense or the back line or where we made mistakes. She really never does that. She's hyped up, and then she's like, let's go feed off of this. Let's all feed off of this. A great save by me is like a goal by you. So I really liked her ability to, and her camaraderie with her teammates. She never got on them like that was your fault, you got to do better kind of a thing, which, listen, if they're getting a shot off and it's my player, I know it was my fault. I don't need to be told.
Totally. Yes.
That's and she never does that, where there's a lot of goalies that like to play up that it's everybody else's fault. There's players that do that too. She's one of those players that she just wants you to feed off of her and energy, and she gives them a confidence that you can make a mistake because we got her behind us that's probably going to save it anyway. So, and when you have that courage to play with freedom, you usually play a lot better than you would when you're a little nervous and worried about making mistakes.
Earps doesn't make you feel it's okay to make a few mistakes, right? Like obviously things that aren't super costly and you learn from them as the game goes on. This player has a tendency to do this. I can't step in like this, or I can do this because the player's a little bit weaker in this area. That's something that you learn as a game goes on. And when your goalkeeper isn't constantly harping on you and yelling at you and making you feel like you're not doing the right things or you're not moving the right way, you're not going to get the best result out of your player ever in anything you do, honestly. So that was a great one. And Beaumont, she was my player that I'm just a mega fan now. And Pep Guardiola, I think it's his favorite player too. He called her the Iniesta of soccer. I'm sure she heard that and freaked out. I imagine she grew up watching Iniesta. And
she's an Iniesta and a Zabi fan. I think her two favorite players. I'm just Spain was just, I agree. Bonmati was just, to me, amazing. And she's my favorite player. She was my daughter's favorite player. And then I'm watching games and almost feeling bad that Hermosa's not my favorite player because what she's doing is also amazing on the field. And it's just but at the same time, Hemp was amazing for England. The young player for Australia, the 20-year-old, she was amazing. The young player for Holland, there are so many good young players and then good players in the prime. And Holland was an older team that at least we all know these players, and it wasn't all their first World Cups, but they were back on track to being what they were when they made it to the finals. I mean, there was so many good teams and good players. For me personally, because I live in America, can we all get all these players to the NWSL?
100%.
Here, listen, and I heard people talking, and the one good thing, and I was going to bring this up at the end, but I'm going to bring it up now. The one good thing about the World Cup being over is I don't have to listen to Lexi Lawless anymore.
Tell us more.
He drives me crazy. Good God. He's the purest American soccer fan, and the game has moved on from that fan. That's the problem. What did he say earlier about on the show over there, but he was talking about Messi. He's like, stop bringing in good defenders. I just want to see goals. Like, the beauty of the game is what Bronze can do defensively, what Greenwood can do defensively. Like, that's an art in itself. Scoring goals is an art. Stopping players is an art. Team defense is an art. Team tactics is an art. Like, the game is artistic in itself as a whole. Don't take away great defending. But he was saying how the NWSL isn't a good enough league. The NWSL is my favorite league. It reminds me of the EPL. When the EPL and the European unions became a union, now more players could go there and it didn't hurt the players needing visas. So the league got way better because the Spanish could play there, the Italians could play there. The only people that were foreigners were the Asian team players, American players. Like, so all these other players could go there and not need visas.
Right.
That's what we need. We have this pace. We have this offensive style of play. We need more of the nuances of the game, which the European players have. If you could combine the two, we would have the greatest league and the greatest soccer that the world could even imagine.
Yeah.
And we had players, but now it's worthy for them to go and get money and contracts overseas and in Europe. So like now that's how you get better through competition. NWSL, you want to be better. You're doing great things. You're building soccer specific women's stadiums. This is all awesome. This is great. You're adding teams. Well, don't add teams and put players on there that don't deserve to be in this league. Be willing to bring in these other coaches, bring in other players. It's only going to help grow the game, not only professionally, but at the youth level again, because now we're going to see a different style of play, a different way of winning the game. Some games are going to have to be full throttle. Some games are going to have to slow down. Sometimes you're going to go full throttle to slow down to then medium pace. Like, that's the beauty of what this World Cup has just shown us, is that there are so many talented players around the world that if we could get them all starting to play or tournaments or whatever with their club teams, it would make the leagues that much better. It's not saying the NWSL, it's a style of play. It's a style of play that we have. It's what Americans like. We like it to go, 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 go. Americans don't want to see ties. I understand that. But it's still a beauty in why games are ties, if it's played the right way. Spain-England was a 1-0 game. I don't know if it's the greatest game I ever saw. My daughter, who's 14, thought that was the best game she ever saw of soccer. 1-0. England-Spain. That game was up and down, full throttle, great skill, great defensive schemes, great offensive schemes. And it was only 1-0. You don't need a 5-0 game, a 4-3 game to be a great game. So for me, it's like the NWSL has a style of play. Now, can we bring in other players to help adapt that style and make it even that much more prolific?
Yeah, and NWSL is something we'll definitely dive in deeper next week, because that's back in full swing. We had games this past weekend. We have 6 more regular season weekends. I think that's what we saw with Orlando this past weekend. They brought in Rafaeli, who plays for Brazil, has that relationship with Marta and Adriana on the Pride team. And then they also had La Roquette from Argentina come in. Both those players scored goals. Rafaeli playing on the back line next to Emily Madril looks really strong for this Orlando team. And that's a team that I'm just super pumped to watch in these last 6 games. 5 goals. I know Chicago has been great this season, but the way that they were able to play a complete style and defensively look so strong and bring some of those world-class players in, I think the league has such a high ceiling if they continue to go after players who bring more than just that like transitional run, get the ball, maybe look for a few passes and go. Okay, back to the World Cup. A lot of jerseys that I would love to pick up. I personally don't have, I shouldn't say this out loud, but I'm going to anyway. I don't have any soccer jerseys. I only have one jersey. It's a Pittsburgh Steelers jersey. But if I were to go and get a jersey after this World Cup, Bon Mati is the jersey. I actually was looking online the other day and thinking about purchasing it. Was there 1 or 2 jerseys that you would get after this World Cup?
Oh, man. I'm not a jersey person.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm not at all. I think the only jerseys I have are like my jerseys. I wasn't a big trader. I've only gotten 1 autograph in my entire life, and it was for somebody else. I'm not an autograph guy. But just players like, so I don't know that I would get a jersey, but like I need to see, like I said, I need to watch Bronze play. I need to watch Barcelona play. I need to see the girl from Australia, the number 19. Grody play. I think her name is
Mhm.
Gowdy or something like that. But like there was so many players that now I want to watch play. The Colombian young player that's going to Real Madrid, maybe I need to watch. Like I want to watch some of these players. I want to watch Hemp play more. There's so many good players like that. I'm going to have to search out league games to watch the quality of play and the style of play and how they play. It's like so it's more than just a jersey. It's more like I need to see these players more often. Like I need more accessibility. Like, and that's me knowing that I'll go out and search for it. But like, could you imagine if they were on somewhere, if somebody picked it up here? Like, and obviously we talked about it. I don't know if we talked about it on air, but the other day I watched the Saudi Arabia League on Fox.
Mhm.
Like, because enough players are going, well, let's not lose sight of what we just gained in this World Cup. Like, we want to see these players play, not just in the NWSL. I want to see the W League, and I want to see the Australian League. I want to see the Dutch League. I want to see the Spanish League. I want to see the French League, because there's just so many great players that I want to see them when they get into an element where they're the star
Right.
and maybe the sole star. So like, what do they do different? How do they accomplish this? Like, I want to see all those things take place as their careers go, and I don't want to miss out on it because I don't want to wait 4 years for it to come around again. And some of them aren't playing, and some of them are playing, and I want them. I want to be able to see this and watch their careers blossom, and show my daughter and show young players like, here, you got to watch this player. You need to watch this style of play. It's only going to help the growth of your game.
Right. And also, too, like these next 4 years are going to be pivotal. There's going to be players coming in that are going to get that experience at the club level who will have massive impacts on the World Cup. Hopefully, it'll be here in the States. But, I think Spanish soccer is something I'm going to be paying a little bit more attention to. The French league is definitely something that I'm very interested in. WSL, they have already had a great season last year, but after what's happened and being in this final World Cup with Wegman as their head coach, who I think arguably right now is one of, if not the best head coach in the women's game right now, being the head of what WSL is.
I would think, why not just the best head coach?
Yeah, sure. You're
You
right.
know, like, he
Absolutely.
just happens to coach women. I mean, I think we saw it like the coach of goodness gracious, what was Renard? What was the French coach? Like he just coached the men's World Cup team.
Yep.
Now Saudi Arabia. That now he's here. Now he's coaching. He coached the French team. Like I think the women can do it the same way. And I think like we would be simple minded if I was a male player that didn't think I could have a women's coach. The game is constantly growing and evolving, and it's about the knowledge you have of the game and how you interact with players. So, like, those are two huge parts, and she seems to know the game and have a great interaction with their players. And you don't hear many players ever say anything bad about her, like that a bad decision, a bad anything. So, like, why couldn't she just coach the men's team too? I know that England's kind of thrown that out there, and so has Holland thrown that out there. But like, there was great coaching in the World Cup. There was, like I said, I think the Dutch was their tactical adjustments were amazing. Sweden's tactical adjustments were amazing. England's tactical adjustments were amazing. Spanish tactical adjustments. Now, Spain always kind of like their tactical adjustments were kind of like pieces of players that were going to link a little bit different, but their style of play stayed pretty consistent. I thought Japanese, their coaching was amazing. So, like, there's so many great coaches that's the other part. We can't just think, oh, and I think Carly Lloyd said it, but was saying that there's really good tactical adjustments being made, but you can tell in this World Cup that the technical is just overriding the tactical. And I totally 100% disagreed with her. It
Really?
just happened to be, yeah, it just happened to be that a lot of the tactical changes were also against the technical team with tactical adjustments also. So, yes, what really happened is the technical got way, way better, and now you just can't win a game tactically. You
Right.
have to take into consideration the technical ability of these players too, because tactically I can make an adjustment, and there are a lot of players now that technically can beat that tactical adjustment just on pure skill itself. Now it's not everybody, but then like I can do certain things with my team sliding and shifting and adjusting and how I set my defenses up, which I think leaving the World Cup for 2 seconds is what's going to happen have to happen in the MLS. Otherwise, Messi's going to score 400 goals. Like we're going to have to figure out like If we lose, it's not because he scored or got the assist. So we're going to have to overplay and do this and then slide and shift. And we're going to have to leave somebody like in a man to man, and you're going to have to win your individual battle.
Mhm.
Because if we try to do it differently, Messi, I mean, 10 goals in 6 games or whatever he played, he's just, it's ridiculous of what he can do. So we're going to have to see a tactical adjustment. And I think in this World Cup, we're going to see, because of how good technically we are as women, we're going to see even the tactical game grow also, because it has to.
Yeah, and just to go back to the head coach with Vegman coaching this England side, she said that she's really happy last week being with the Lionesses. She's not looking for a new challenge. For me, she would have been my pick for the U.S. women's national team head coach position. And what I meant by the women's game is, like you said, Scotty, she is coaching the women's game. I think she could coach. I mean, it's been proven that she can coach other teams and have success in such a short period of time. Let's head into the U.S. coach. Obviously, there's no more Vlatko Andonovski for the U.S. national team. I expect him to be able to find a really good position with a club team. He's well liked. I know players enjoy playing for him. The U.S. just wasn't a role for him. Now it's who is going to be the next head coach. We're recording this on August 22nd. It's going out on August 23rd. We need a head coach August 24th if we're talking now. Like we need this happening right now. So we're speculating who's going to be the next head coach. We tried it on this podcast with the U.S. men's national team. Didn't go well. There's no point in speculating who it should be, but it should be a speculation as what can they bring. And for me, with this U.S. head coach, it's everything we've been saying that we've seen in the World Cup, except it has to be implemented with the U.S. team. They have to have a plan for tactically how they want to play. And technically, the skill level has to be higher, and making sure that it's not just for the senior level, but it's for the youth levels as well, the NWSL as well, because that's where the majority of the United States players are coming out of. Additionally, there is going to be plenty of new turnover, even with the Olympics heading into the 2024 summer. Who are the pieces that this next head coach wants to be a part of this team, and getting them right into camp, making sure that they're training with Ashley Sanchez's, getting Ashley Hatch involved, who's playing next to Naomi Girma. Those questions, the big picture questions, have to be figured out right away. Those are the big three things that I look for in this next head coach. What are the big three things that you look for?
For me, I think you hit it nail on the head. We have to bring a coach in, and the coach then has to be, I don't want to say arrogant. I don't, but like have tons of confidence in themselves, and know that what they're going to come in here is going to take time. And I think we as an American public and as a culture, we want wins. We want them right now. We want it right now. But if we go that route, it's going to take us a long time to get where we're supposed to get to. So the next head coach has to come in. You're right. There's going to be turnover. Some are going to be easy just based on age. It's just going to be time. It's just going to happen. That's easy choices. And it may be some picks that actually take care of themselves. But this coach needs to come in and say, this is where the game's going. This is the way we have to play. So these are the players I'm going to take right now. So that's going to be part of the turnover, is some players are going to be out, not because they're not great players, because they don't fit a certain system and style of play that's going to need to be implemented to win the long race. Down the road, we're going to win games, and then we're going to not lose games, and we're not going to lose being number one in the world. And it's going to be a driving force. And then he has to make sure that the youth teams are doing it. And at the youth teams, we need a bigger turnover in players there too. And I don't mean different, just there's a lot of camps. Do a couple more camps. Bring in different players. See different players. Like, I remember when I was a youth player, and it still seems, because I coach some youth players now that go into these national camps, it's always the same 25. It's always the same 30. Hey, there's 60 to 100 good players. Bring in different players. Let them get to know the coach. Get to know their personalities. Do they have the character that it's going to take to do what we need to do and to make this system work? And then we have to change our style of play to, we just can't be big, fast, running, fast, straight line runners. We can't be that type of game anymore. That game is done. It's not going to work. It's not coming back. The game has evolved and changed, and for the better. So that coach has to come in and basically say, this is an 8-year deal. You don't have to sign me to 8 years, but this is going to take 2 cycles to get it right. To get it right to the fact of, it's going to last forever after these 8 years. And that's the coach you need. And then that coach needs to come in and not sit, I don't know where they put these coaches up, in California all the time. I want them out at clubs. I want them saying, like, this isn't good enough. This is your top ECNL, GA, academy teams. Then this coach needs to be better. This coach has to be, why are we running these sessions? What are you looking for? What are you trying to get out of your players? And then, like, around here, a lot of the clubs, if you go to a club game here, and it's no matter what club it is in this little area of the triangle, if I go out there, I'm telling you, I'm almost 100% knowing that it's going to be a 4-3-3. Like, why does everybody play a 4-3-3? Like, you play the formation based on your personnel. So these players need to learn different formations. They need to go into a game and say, hey, we're going to play a 4-4-2 today with a diamond midfield. We might lose, but we have to learn how to play this. So that when you make the national team and that coach says, oh, crap, we're playing Holland today, and the only way we can beat them is if we play a 4-4-2 diamond, and he comes to you and you're like, well, I never played that before. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do in that formation. Like, that's part of the problem. It's like we have to play a 3-5-2. Are we having our wingback step high, or are we really almost setting up in a 5-3-2 just to set up defensively and the hold and to counter? Like, we have to play these different styles and different formations, and not saying that we're doing it just to win. We're doing it for the knowledge, so that when we get to the places we're supposed to be and get with that national team, it doesn't matter what position you play me in and what formation you throw. I have the answers. I have the knowledge to be able to play that. And I think that takes really hard work. That takes a lot of passion. And for me, what I see is there's not a lot of youth coaches that are in the game for the game. They're in it to hang out with their friends and drink beers in the hotels when they go to their tournaments and to make money. And they're not in it for what can they give back to the game, so that when they go and sit or you watch or get on social media, like, everybody's like, oh, I used to train so-and-so, Alyssa Thompson, and you can do a camp with me. Like I trained Alyssa Thompson. I did this. I trained this player. This one it worked for. It worked. Doesn't mean it's going to work for every player. But, like, they're trying to make money off of these players that they've coached, and they're saying, oh, look what I did. Like, these players that we coach at the youth level, they have, I don't know, I had 400 coaches growing up, all different ideas, all different minds, all different philosophies, and you're learning and you're taking information. So, like, which one of them created me or helped me become who I am? All of them. All of them helped me. So, like, I can't specifically say this one coach is the guy that did it. Me as a coach, I'm not the one reason players make it as good as they are. It's like, It's a whole thing. It's their parents. It's their training at home. It's their training with their club team. It's the training at next level. It's all the different trainings. It's the watching of the games. But we need a coach that comes in and makes it that the players have to love the game itself, love the game. And the coaches have to love the game. And that's going to be a process, because there's a lot of people on these staffs that don't. They're in it to take care of themselves and take care of their friends. And oh, look, we won the 15 whatever national team. Like, those games, we got to win all of these games, and we got to learn and get better and learn the processes of it all. And I think that's the kind of coach we need to come in and say, like, I'm not here just to win a tournament. I'm here to win every tournament.
Yeah.
And that's going to take a little bit of time.
Right. And coming along Matt Crocker and his ideas, but making sure and holding him to a standard, holding Berhalter to a standard as well. And one of the biggest arguments in sports and youth sports here in the States is, do kids focus on one sport or they play multiple sports? I think, and I don't even know if there's a right answer there, because I think it's person to person, kid to kid, depending on their interests and what they want to do. But I do think there's something to be said for, some of the reasons why these players on the senior level are able to play different positions. Similarly, I think you could see that if kids played different sports here in America. Not every single kid is going to be able to do everything. And that's because of money, because of family's time, because of their own interests. But if a soccer player was also playing tennis, there's a lot of similarities in that way. Or if a soccer player is playing basketball, I also cover basketball. And obviously I didn't play the sport at a high level. I played it in middle school and played recreationally. But there are so many similarities in a 5v5 game to an 11v11 game of soccer. and the teamwork aspect, where you need to be in a certain drawn up play, and understanding different systems and different ways your basketball coach wants you to play in, a low block or whatever. We're not to basketball season yet, so I forget the terminology off the top of my head, but there's so many similarities, I think, in different sports that can come to soccer and can allow them to understand this is also a team sport. I have to understand different roles in soccer. I'm not just a true 9. I also have to understand what my 10 wants me to do and how they move, that you can learn in different sports as well. So I think here in America, there should be more of a draw, and not just, I trained Alyssa Thompson, you have to do the same things that she did, and that'll get you on the national team. It's no, maybe my role is to be a basketball player and a soccer player, and that'll get me to the national team. I think Matthew Stafford was a pretty big baseball player before he just really drew to football. And look at him, he's a Super Bowl champion in the NFL. So I hope that's something parents also take away, is know your kid, know their interests and what they want to do, but also try and get them just involved in team sports.
100%. And when you said Matthew Stafford, look at any great,
Right.
any great player in any sport, and a lot of them trickles down to they played other sports. Like usually in the NFL, the top 15 draft picks are multiple sport players.
Totally.
Like other sports translates to other sports. I said a couple years ago, we took the heading rule out of U.S. soccer, youth soccer, which is, it's funny to me that was the route we went. Instead of teaching how to head better, we just took it out. Whereas in the NFL, the youth levels, remember they were tackling wrong and everybody was getting hurt. Mm-hmm. So instead of taking tackling out, they just made all their coaches get certified on how to tackle the right way. And now all the injuries are going away because now everybody knows how to tackle right. Instead of saying, oh, listen, instead of making our coaches learn how to head better and teach them better, let's just take it out and that'll be the scapegoat just to take it out. But the reason we're also really bad at heading is no one plays baseball anymore. No one knows how to judge the ball out of the air because we don't do it anymore. Because a lot of the clubs and the parents come to me and they always say to me, and I always make sure that I rephrase it for them. And they say, hey, I never played soccer when I was growing up. I played basketball. And I'm always like, good God, it's basically the same sport. You're just using your hands, but you're getting diamonds, you're getting triangles, you're getting into different formations to stop certain things, to stop passing lanes, to cover certain, to force defenses, to force offenses a certain way. Like everything's translates. But because they think that, they go to these big clubs, and a lot of the big clubs are like, oh, you're on our top team. You can't play any other sport. We don't want you playing other sports. And if you do play another sport, you can't be on the top team, because you're not going to give us enough commitment. And then like these top teams here on the girls' side and the boys' side, they can't play high school. Like that is the biggest jip of all time to me, is like your high school, you have this camaraderie, you have this ownership of, and a lot of times like on my club team, I might be the eighth best player. But on my high school team, I could be the very best player. So now it's a different role. Now I have to be the leader. Now I have more confidence. Even when I mess up, I'm still better than the whole team. Like, that's a good feeling for me to go through. That's a good environment for me to be in. Maybe my coach isn't as good, but like he's a great team leader. He's a great team builder. And I need to see those aspects. Like everyone's so afraid, like if I'm the coach, like their egos get in the way and they don't want anyone else to coach them because they don't want them to get the credit, or they don't want these players to see that there's better coaches out there. Like, I want to be coached by everybody. I want you to go, you want to hear it from me. You should hear it from him. You should hear it from her. We have different ideas. We have different languages. We have different words we use. So like we might be saying the same thing, but you said it in a better way that they understood it better. Who cares? The message is now in there, and this player has this information now to take it forward into their career. I agree. Like there needs to be a little bit settle down. The girl who just came in for Spain, she runs track.
Yep.
And she just recently stopped doing track. She was like, it wasn't like she just ran track. She was on the national team for track too. Like now she just had to, it's that time of her career. Like she's just too busy. So now she had to finally pick one. But there's no way that what she has to do mentally to prepare for a track meet and to run the 400 does not help her mentally prepare for a soccer game. She's stronger because of it. She's more willing to put herself out there, to get herself out of her comfort zone because of what she learned in these other environments that she puts herself in. And we should do that in all sports. Like the top quarterbacks in the NFL, almost all of them, they did something else. Some of them are baseball. Some of them are Rodgers is a soccer player. And he speaks about it. He says, my feet are so good because I played soccer growing up. Tim Duncan, soccer player, like all these guys, Luka Doncic, soccer player. They all play these other sports that help them when they finally pick the sport that they really love. Listen, I'm a better baseball player than I am a soccer player, naturally. But I loved soccer. But I didn't stop playing baseball until I had to personally, because I just couldn't. I felt I couldn't invest enough time in the game that I wanted to play. I didn't pick soccer because I was better than every other sport. I was a way better baseball player than I was a soccer player. If I knew I was going to be this tall, and I'm not super tall, I'm better at basketball than I am at soccer. I just happened to love the game and what it was all about. So that's the sport I picked. But I played them all until I couldn't play them all anymore. And I just chose one at whatever, 15, 16, somewhere in high school.
I enjoyed swimming, and the time that they put me in the pool and there was nobody else in my heat was when I was like, you know what? I'm done. I had a friend jump in and swim with me. I was so like mortified. But to your
You won, though. You won.
I won. No, honestly, she might have won. She was a really good swimmer. But no, back to the high school point. I didn't know that. One of the reasons why I still loved soccer up until that point is my sophomore, and I think my freshman year I didn't play, but my sophomore, junior, and senior year, I fell in love with the game again in a different way because I was one of the best players on the team, and I enjoyed who I was around, and I enjoyed kind of learning the game from a smaller level, like it was all about the basics in high school. And once, with Castle, it wasn't really about the basics anymore. And that's okay. And that's where the club was at. But it's like, you still need to sometimes learn the basics and teach from that level, in order
And it's
to grow.
good for you, a player that knows more than another player, to help them along.
Yeah, totally.
Because now you're coaching. So like you're re-emphasizing information to yourself by getting it out to another player. And like that's a huge, we used to do teams, and we just started back up futsal at next level. We used to do these teams, and there was a black and an orange team, and it was a top and a second team. And it wasn't all the time. It depended on age groups. But every once in a while, I would take a player who was a top team player,
Mhm.
and I would put him on the second team. But before the announcement would be made, I would pull them aside, their parents aside, and say, look, if you think that you're a second team player because I put you on this team, then you are sadly mistaken. I put you on this team because I personally think you're a leader. But when you play with these set of girls, you become a role player. And you let other players do certain things, whereas you should be taking on that role. On this team, these players are going to ask more of you because they're going to see you as their leader, which is going to be good for you to see and then learn how to act towards that. I coached both teams. I coached both of the teams. So it was like I wasn't going to ask anything different than of her on this team, and I wasn't going to ask anything different on this team. But on this team, the players were going to ask more of her. And that was going to go way more than what I could do for her on this team. And then as it went, we usually got them back on that team, or outdoors they were back on with those supposedly top players. But the ability to be the leader of a team and to be the coach on the field of a team, it's something that you need to get. And that's, high school is good. And they use it like, oh, it's a bad brand of soccer. That's where all these injuries are happening. And you're like, really? You just had 4 ACL tears in the last 3 months over at club soccer. So like an injury can happen anywhere. It's part of the game. Totally. I don't know if it's the play turf now. I don't know what it is.
Leading up to the World Cup, how many injuries, ACLs did they have?
Yeah, it's just like, and that's just like, they're going to come. So like you need to be in environments that stimulate you mentally and physically. And that can happen even if you're the best player physically. Now can you be the smartest player mentally and understand what these players do know and don't know, and then how you play against it or play with it. And I think we missed the boat on that here in America. And part of that is parents also, because if we do a certain training session, they'll want to know who's coming to the training session because they can't be associated with players on lower teams than them. And that's the truth. That's the truth of how they think. And I always remember growing up thinking, like, one, these are my friends. These are my peers. And if they're not as good at me, I think I just gave a speech this week at Next Level saying, like, it's okay if I'm better than Messi's way better than me at soccer, but maybe I'm a way better cook than him. I don't know. Like, I'm better than him at something. I'm way better than him at something like what, like that's just the
It
way
might take
life
a while
is.
to figure out, but you definitely are.
Somebody's good at this, somebody's good at this, somebody's good at this. It's
Yeah,
okay. So like if I'm really good at shooting and you're really good at passing, hey, we're a good team. Let's get together. Let's start
totally.
hanging out, figure each other out. Like, why does it I always have to be like, oh, I made the top team, I can't hang out with the second team? And a lot of that comes from parents because that's not what we teach. That's not what we've learned as a child. We're being taught that at home. We're being taught that by the clubs sometimes. Or we're being taught that by the coaches at the club sometimes. Don't get me started about the club here. We had clubs that have merged together over in this area, and the coaches still kind of are separated, like the old club and this club, and they're not like they don't all work together. It's like it's sad because at the end of the day, the only person really getting hurt are these coach kids that they're coaching, and it's a shocking and it's sad because there's so many talented young players, and there's also young players that need guidance. We need to guide our players and help them become better human beings at the same time, and that's one of the things watching the World Cup. How many great human beings just played in this World Cup? Lucy Bronze, after every game, made a point to go and be with the fans. Even the World Cup final that I mean, could you, we've all lost the game and it's devastating. She just lost the World Cup final. And she took her shoes off and went, like, had to walk, jump over the thing, get all the way over there and give a fan her shoes. That made that fan's year, probably 10 years, who knows? But like they were like after every game, like, and listen, I wasn't the best sport, so don't get me wrong, but times have changed. But if I just won the World Cup, I'll tell you what I wouldn't have been doing is hugging the other team.
Mhm.
But every game when these girls got knocked out, like they knew each other, they cared about each other, they totally, like almost like I'm sorry we beat you, now you have to go home. I'm so sorry. But it was like so awesome to watch
Yeah.
how great human beings just played in this World Cup. And that's awesome. It's like that's what we should be teaching. That's what we should be really learning about this stupid game is how much bigger it is than what we see, what we do at our feet. And that's again, we missed a huge the Japanese fans staying every game
Yep.
to clean up the
Cleaning
stadium.
up. I know.
It's amazing, amazing.
It is. And it takes me back to this like viral video that happened. It was college basketball season a few years ago. I think it was a Boston college player, and they asked him what he was going to miss the most about basketball in college. And he started crying and he said, eating. And everyone kind of laughed and they thought it was funny, but I related so much. I look back on my college time and sure, I enjoyed soccer and that was fun and winning Big Tens and all of that was great. But what do I miss the most is my time with my teammates and learning from them and having that shared experience and being able to be friends with people who maybe I wouldn't have been friends with if we weren't on the same soccer team together. And back to your point with the youth level and how, you don't want to simulate with players who are perceived as not as good as you at soccer is you might not even go on to play college soccer, but that could be a really good connection for you later down the road and a really good friend or somebody who off the soccer field helps you. Or you might both end up on the US national team together in some crazy way and you have this connection from your youth that not only that, but also makes you a better person and you have that shared experience together. You never know where life takes you. You just don't. I'm not that old, but I still have had experiences in my life where I'm like, I never thought I would land in the same position as I am with this person. So I think from the youth level, there's so much to learn. And I think that also translates into soccer and the role playing. Like you mentioned, Sophia Smith did not have the same role in the World Cup that she does with Portland. She stepped on the field this past weekend against North Carolina, and within seconds, literally, she found the back of the net because she was that center forward number 9 role where she wasn't the fixture with the World Cup team. Alex Morgan was, and she struggled in that. And that's okay. I mean, that's not fully on her. There's so much that goes into that, but that just shows that just your whole life, just understanding that you're going to have to be a utility player at times. You're going to have to do things that you don't want to do, but the coaches will ask so much of you and you're going to have to figure it out. And that comes from reps, that comes from like experience.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like just talking about the women, our women's World Cup team is like I'm super looking forward to seeing where these girls all go now, women all go now. Because I tell my daughter all the time, a champion, do not be fooled, has nothing to do with the scoreboard. It has nothing to do with the scoreboard. It's how many times you get knocked out and you get back up and you go for it again. Like, what are they going to do now? it's easy to win the World Cup in a sense, and then like now you go on your way and you go on your path. And even those girls for Spain now, are they going to stay humble? Are they going to keep fighting for the right things? Are they going to fight for those other 12 that did not get asked back, who definitely could be back there? So like for us though, being knocked down and having all this ridicule on us and social media as big as it is now in sports and everyone bad mouthing everybody. Shoot, I'm looking forward to seeing what Andonovski does. Like he's proven he's a great club coach.
Uh-huh.
He's proven his players like him. You're just not a you're not a national team coach. That's okay. Like I don't know. I think the national team coaching is it's a tricky thing, and I think certain coaches are just really good at it. They're good at the investment they have to make when they're not with the team, kind of a thing. Whereas I think me personally, I want to always be around the teams. Like you said, like what did I miss about being a pro? The locker room. I miss the locker room. It's not the games that I miss. It's not scoring goals or blocking. It's being there for each other. Knowing when a guy walked in, like, oh God, this doesn't look good. Let's find out what happened and what can we do to help him out. Like, was it something at home? Was it a family member sick? What is it? Is it he's a guy going through a contract problem? Like, I miss the locker room. I miss knowing that I could get whatever is on my chest off of it and have guys that were there for me and going through very similar situations in a sense that we're here together and we can't help everybody out there that we want to, so we have to help each other, kind of a thing. I think now it'll be interesting to see the path we take as players that, in a sense failed, and how the social media has failed miserably. So like, where do we go now? Do we put a chip on our shoulder? Do we pick our heads up? Do we get going? Like, it'll be interesting to see where they go, what the Sam Coffeys do, what Ashley Hatch does, like the players who were right there that didn't make it. And then just now, again, like we said, like now just watching them all go through what they're going through, and these teams. And I want to see what Lucy Bronze does. I want to see what these England players do. I want to see what Russo does. I want to see what kind of league now they, not just the league they're in, but like what do they do in their league and how do they play? And I think that it'll be super interesting to see where women's soccer goes, because what an opportunity we have after this World Cup, like how big it is and how much we've all seen it. And now can we take this momentum and continue to help it grow and make it that much better for the next World Cup and the next one and the next one? And my daughter and my daughter's children, like I want it for the future and future and future. And I think we need to ride the wave that this World Cup has created.
Right. No, I agree. I think for the U.S. national team, there's so much positive that comes out of this. And there's an expectation now is how are they going to come off of this mistake that was made and this perceived failure that they weren't able to win the World Cup, and what results can they get within these next 6 NWSL games. Their games like Lindsey Horan overseas. There's so many question marks in the U.S. national team. They play South Africa on September 21st and September 24th, and it will be very fun to see who coaches that, if they can get a new head coach in, if they're going with their interim head coach, and what players they bring into that camp. There's plenty of NWSL happening this weekend. Leagues Cup just wrapped off with a messy win.
I would like to say this, though.
Okay.
I have a lot more respect for Andonovski that he resigned.
Mm-hmm.
I give him credit for that. I think that's the way that soccer is. And when you either haven't done the job you were supposed to, or even if you did the job you were supposed to but don't think you can get it to where it's supposed to go going forward, I think it's your job to step away and hand the reins over to somebody else. And I give him credit for that. I would like to say I have given McGrath the same, but when she resigned, she then said, oh, this was already planned before the World Cup, so I was doing this no matter what. That rubbed me a little bit wrong, so I'm not giving her as much credit. But Andonovski, I give him credit for resigning. It was the correct thing to do, I think, in my eyes. I think that's what he needed to do, and I'm glad that he did it, not get fired. He took his name out of it.
You're right. I agree. The fact that he stepped back and realized, and I think that's what also makes him such a good coach going forward. He should not be left out of conversations within clubs and in the NWSL. I think he still has a high ceiling. Like you said, he's proven that people like him. He has good tactics. He clearly understands the game of soccer. The national team just didn't fit him. And hey, that's a lesson learned that everybody can learn. Not every job out there is for you, even if it's within what you studied or what you're perceived to know. So we'll be really interesting to see who ends up taking that position from him. Make sure to follow us on all the social medias at SFTP Pod. You can watch us every week on YouTube at SFTP Pod, and we will be back here next Wednesday. Have a good week.
Have a great week.